Hi there, Scott here. I am home after traveling to a lot of different conferences, at least for a little while, and I thought what I'd do is talk a little bit about podcasting. Now, I just put up a new episode of my Games and Libraries podcast, which you can see at gamesandlibraries.org. As many of you know, I've done video podcasts, and as you're seeing right now, and audio podcasts, and I thought I'd talk a little bit about the lessons I've learned from doing an audio podcast, because that's the easiest way to get started. Now, first thing to think about is your topic. There's a lot of podcasts out there, and if you go to iTunes and do some searching around, you're going to find a lot. But what you want to think about is there something that you bring to the table, that you really enjoy, maybe it combines a couple of your interests, that you could provide an interesting viewpoint on? That's what I did with the games and library stuff. Now, another thing to think about is there a group of you that could talk about something? Because in general, it's usually more interesting to have a group of people talking about a topic than just one person. Now, before I get too far, I should actually say what a podcast is. So some people record a single audio file and say, hey, I made a podcast, but that's not really a podcast. The idea of the podcast is it's a series of audio files that have a RSS feed attached to them. Now, an RSS feed, or the layman's term for that is really simple syndication. What that is a way for people to be notified when there's a new episode on the podcast. So it's a combination of content that comes out regularly along with some way of notifying people when that content is available. The name podcast came because it was very easy with the iPod to link into these files, but actually you don't have to use an iPod to listen to them. Now, to make a podcast, here are the things you're going to need. First, you need content, and that's a really important thing. If you don't have content, then it's not worth it to start a podcast. So you need to think about your topic area and content that you can create. Now, you can record that content on your computer using Audacity is the most common tool people get started with. As far as what to use, I suggest a basic USB-powered headset microphone combination. I use it from Plantronics. I've been very happy with that. But that provides, I have found, the best quality. It's just something that hooks into your USB port because it's taking the processing of the sound and doing it in the headphone rather than trying to make the computer do it. The second step after you create your audio file is to edit it. And this is a step that some people don't do. And you need to edit your stuff. You need to spend the time to clean out the ums, the ahs, big pauses, mistakes. Cut it out. Cut out where you go off topic. Try to make a good audio file. Now, you also may want to edit in some music. Now, I actually use a Macintosh, and with the Macintosh is a program called GarageBand, and GarageBand comes with a lot of music that you can use. But if you look online, you can find some music in Creative Commons. You'll have to respect their license agreement, which may require you to announce who did that music at the end of the show. But if you search for Creative Commons music, you'll find some stuff out there that you could use in your show. So music is nice. You want to think about adding in other voices, if possible, either having other people record sessions or you get together and record something as a group. There are some ways to do it over space and time, and I'll talk about that on a future show, not on this one. So you record your content, you have some video stuff, So you record your content, you may have some music in there as little breaks. Listen to other podcasts to hear how they're structured and try to follow that. One of the things that new podcasters don't do is they don't adjust the levels. And what that means is you may have one segment that's really loud like this and the next segment that's really quiet like this. And if someone's listening to it on the radio, they're going to get frustrated because they're going to be turning up and down and really get annoyed with you. There's a tool that can help with this, and the tool is called Levelator. If you go to Levelator, spelled just like it sounds, you can find this free tool that you can download. You can put a file into it, and it will spoot out for you a leveled, balanced file. And so that's a great tool to use, especially if you're using information from different resources. Now, the next thing you have to do is you have to figure out where this file is going to live, because the file has to be hosted somewhere on the internet for people to download it. You can't just take a file and put it directly into iTunes. Instead, you have to host it somewhere. Now, you could host it on your own internet service provider, or you could pay for a service like Libsyn, Libsyn.com. I use the Internet Archive. Now, the Internet Archive, which is at archive.org, is a project that allows people to put stuff up. Now, the trick about the Internet Archive is that whatever you put up is going to be shared out through the Creative Commons. So you have to be okay with that. It means that other people can have it and use it and can get your file from there without paying you for it. So you have to be okay with that concept. And if you're okay with that, I've been using the Internet Archive for Board Games with Scott for years, and I've been very happy with it and will continue to use it. So you put the files up there. Now the next thing you have to do is you have to create the RSS feed. You have to create some way of notifying people when there's a new episode. The easiest way to do this is with a blog, and you can get a basic blog at any of the blog hosting services, at WordPress or LiveType or whatever. Set up your blog, and in each blog entry, you'll provide the link to the file on the Internet Archive. Again, to see how I do it, go over to gamesandlibraries.org, and you can see how I integrate those two things together. Now, once you have that RSS feed, that is what you'll give to iTunes. So you'll give your RSS feed to iTunes, and iTunes will then capture the file, capture the RSS feed, and then anyone can find you through iTunes, which I find most people want to do. That's the most common path people use to get to my stuff. And then you just wait for the accolades to pour in as millions of people listen to your stuff. Well, maybe hundreds. Your mom listens to your stuff, but that's okay. You get started small, and the neat thing that happens with a podcast is over time it builds community. Over time, if you get the word out about what you're doing, post stuff about it in appropriate forums, talk to people, ask them to spread the word, you find the word gets out, and you find your viewership or your listenership goes up and up and up. Now, it's much easier to do a podcast than it is to do a video series like I do with Board Games with Scott, because editing is so much easier when you just have audio. When you do video, you have to do good video and good audio. And ideally, people don't notice the audio because they're watching the video, and if they notice the audio, then you've screwed up. With an audio podcast, if you want to make an edit, it's so much easier than trying to edit motions together, because when you're moving around, it can be tough to splice and cut out a section. So with audio, all you have to do is listen for the breaks and then cut out a section and remove it. So that's a little bit about the basics of podcasting. And again, you will need to create the content. Ideally, you'll save it into an MP3 form. You have to host the content somewhere. I use the Internet Archive. You have to create an RSS feed for the content. Some sort of blog is the easiest way to do it. You can use Libsyn to help out with those last two steps. You then have to put it into iTunes. You'll submit it to iTunes. And once that's all working, iTunes will pick it up. And so some people can subscribe to the RSS feed directly through your site. Other people will go to iTunes and get your new stuff. And then you start building community. And before you know it, a lot of people know who you are. You're talking with folks about what you're doing. And you, too, have become a podcaster. Isn't that cool? So get out there and make some content. The world's waiting for you. Bye-bye.